Good afternoon, and welcome to the Tulsa Regional Chamber's 2021 Annual Meeting and Inauguration. Throughout the past year, the Northeast Oklahoma business community has displayed unwavering courage in the face of adversity. As we celebrate this courage and the resilience of our region during today's event, we thank you for being a partner in prosperity with the Chamber. Before we get started, we'd like to thank the generous sponsors that have made today's annual meeting possible. Our presenting sponsors are Cox Communications and Tulsa Community College. Our gold sponsors are BOK Financial Corporation, CEC Corporation, Cherokee Nation Businesses, Cox Media Group, Exceptional Leaders Lab, Gable Gottwalls, Luxa Enterprises, One Oak, Osage Casinos, Resolute PR, Retrospect Films, River Spirit Casino Resort, Schnocky Turnbow Frank, TTCU Federal Credit Union, Tulsa Tech, Tulsa World Media Company, and Tulsa Zoo Management. Our silver sponsors are Frederick Dorwart Lawyers, Omni Air International, and Tulsa Country Club. Today's AV sponsor is TES Productions, and our graphics sponsor is Buyers Creative. Today's event video sponsors are Fabricut, Tulsa Tech, and York Electronic Systems Incorporated. Lastly, our thanks as well to the corporate sponsors listed on your screen. Please take note of these companies and call on them when possible for your future business needs. We have a number of representatives from these sponsor companies joining us today, as well as several distinguished guests to acknowledge. Joining us at our virtual head table are Mike Neal, President and CEO of the Tulsa Regional Chamber, Dr. Lee Goodson, President and CEO of Tulsa Community College, a presenting sponsor, Steve Bradshaw, President and CEO of BOK Financial Corporation, a gold sponsor, Cassie Reese-Tipton, Oklahoma Market Leader for CEC Corporation, a gold sponsor, Principal Chief of the Cherokee Nation Chuck Hoskin Jr., representing Cherokee Nation Businesses, a gold sponsor, Kathy Gunther, Market Vice President for Cox Media Group, a gold sponsor, Tracy Spears, co-founder of Exceptional Leaders Lab, a gold sponsor, John Dale, Chairman and CEO of Gable Gottwalls, a gold sponsor, Frauke Peterson, CEO and owner of Luxa Enterprises, a gold sponsor, Terry Spencer, President and CEO of One Oak, a gold sponsor, Nicole Morgan, CEO of Resolute PR, a gold sponsor, Jason Burks, owner and president of Retrospect Films, a gold sponsor, Becky Frank, partner, Chair and CEO of Schnocky Turnbow Frank, a gold sponsor, Tim Lyons, President and CEO of TTCU Federal Credit Union, a gold sponsor, Dr. Steve Tiger, Superintendent and CEO of Tulsa Tech, a gold sponsor, Bernie Heller, President of Tulsa World Media Company, a gold sponsor, Lindsay Hutchison, President and CEO of Tulsa Zoo Management. We also thank the past chairs of the Tulsa Regional Chamber, members of our 2020 Board of Directors and Board of Advisors, and incoming 2021 board members with us today. And we owe a special thanks to those who retired from board service during 2020 for their generous contribution of time and resources. Finally, our thanks to the many local, regional, state, and federal elected officials joining us virtually today. We are honored to begin today's program with a rendition of the National Anthem, presented in partnership with Fire in Little Africa, a multimedia hip-hop project inspired by the resilience of Tulsa's Black Wall Street. Singing the National Anthem are three Fire in Little Africa artists, Krishina Suarez, O'Malley B., and T. Mace.
Oh, say, can you see by the what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming,
whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming,
and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave
proof through the night
that our flag was still there. Oh,
say does that star-spangled
banner yet
wave
o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Joining us now is the 2020 chair of the Tulsa Regional Chamber and vice president and Tulsa market leader for Cox Communications, Roger Ramsire.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us, albeit virtually, for this very special Tulsa Regional Chamber annual meeting and inauguration. Just 1 year ago, the Chamber held its annual meeting in a jam-packed ballroom at the Cox Business Convention Center to celebrate the 2019 accomplishments under the leadership of past Chair David Stratton. My, how circumstances have changed in a year. You have no idea how much we hoped we could hold this year's event in person, but alas, virtual is still best for just a little bit longer. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff of the Chamber, I want to extend our deepest condolences to the families of those who have lost their lives due to COVID-19. We also want to express our heartfelt gratitude to Tulsa's healthcare workers and first responders who have shouldered so much during the past 10 months. Your heroism is truly extraordinary. Now, those of you who have attended last year's annual meeting may recall we articulated 5 points of focus for the Chamber in 2020. The common theme was connectivity, from connecting all in our community through strategies related to diversity, to connecting employers with the workforce needed to grow and prosper, to connecting Tulsa with the rest of the world with more direct flights. But little did any of us know then how critical the concept of connectivity would become in 2020. And as we learned to social distance and move much of our work remote and virtual, maintaining connectivity became more important than ever. The transitions were not always smooth, but I could not be more proud of how the Chamber staff, board, and volunteers expeditiously pivoted to react to the unprecedented and unforeseen circumstances of 2020. Before we go any further, let's take a quick look at some of those things the Chamber did this past year in fulfilling its mission to enhance economic prosperity in Northeast Oklahoma.
Northeast Oklahoma has displayed unwavering courage in the face of adversity. Despite the challenges our region encountered in 2020, we remain optimistic for a brighter future. As your partner in prosperity, the Tulsa Regional Chamber helped hasten economic recovery by empowering businesses, advocating for relief, and leading for the future. We reached out to each one of our more than 2,100 member companies, collecting valuable feedback to help direct the recovery and launch new resources for small businesses, including our business support series of webinars. Through a partnership with Tulsa County, We distributed more than 2,500 personal protective equipment kits at no cost to almost 2,000 Tulsa businesses and nonprofits. And in another partnership with Tulsa County, the Tulsa Office of Film, Music, Arts, and Culture created Play Tulsa Music, a recovery program to help area music venues hire local musicians for live performances. This $150,000 program helps sustain and create opportunities for musicians and venue owners alike. Business-driven advocacy was as important in 2020 as ever, and while it looked different than in years past, it was no less vital or effective. The Chamber worked alongside Tulsa Mayor G.T. Bynum to create the Mayor's Economic Recovery Advisory Committee that also included 15 members of the Chamber's own Board of Directors. We also hosted several virtual forums with elected leaders to ensure Chamber members had the latest information about relief and assistance programs, and to ensure the voices of Tulsa area businesses were heard in Oklahoma City and Washington, D.C. TIPROS, the Chamber's Young Professionals organization, registered more than 1,400 new voters and partnered with several organizations throughout the year on civic engagement projects. And our virtual One Voice Regional Legislative Summit helps secure consensus for our region's shared legislative priorities for the year ahead. As our community approaches the centennial of the Tulsa Race Massacre, the Chamber is determined to increase economic opportunity for all. In 2020, we hosted dozens of forums, training sessions, and community conversations to engage businesses in the work of reconciliation and the creation of a more equitable community. Tulsa Regional Tourism, the Chamber's destination marketing organization, launched Tulsa Safely, a campaign that raised awareness of the health and safety precautions being taken by local businesses. We also helped secure significant future events, such as the 2021 Ironman North American Championship and the 2023 NCAA Division I Wrestling Championships. We partnered with New York City marketing firm Development Counselors International to help tell our region's safety story to potential investors, business prospects, event planners, and visitors. We celebrated the significant investment in our region from companies like American Airlines, Whirlpool, Milo's Tea Company, and more. Thanks to your partnership and engagement with the Chamber, we were recognized as the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives 2020 Chamber of the Year. This honor couldn't have been achieved without the perseverance and support of our members and our community. Northeast Oklahoma is a resilient region. That resilience will serve us well through 2021 and beyond.
Without a doubt, 2020 was a year unlike any other in our lifetimes, but we are also seeing innovations, advances in science, entrepreneurial initiatives, and new ways of working as the result of the pandemic, many of which bode well for the future of the Tulsa economy. We have much for which we should all be very excited and optimistic about here in Northeast Oklahoma as we begin to embrace the forthcoming recovery, a recovery that, with vaccinations having been launched, is now in sight. Allow me to quickly recount a number of items that justify our optimism. We continue to see incredible business investment in our region. In the past year, American Airlines announced a $550 million capital investment in its Tulsa operations, the largest aircraft maintenance facility in the world. Whirlpool Corporation opened a new $55 million factory distribution center, doubling its footprint in Tulsa. Muncie Power Products celebrated the groundbreaking of its new manufacturing facility, the first tenant to break ground in North Tulsa's Peoria Mohawk Business Park. Amazon opened its new 4-story fulfillment center. Webco Industries announced a $10 million expansion of its facilities in Sand Springs, and Milo's Tea Company opened a new $60 million production and distribution center. While it did not result in the announcement for which we had all hoped, Tesla's selection of Tulsa as one of 2 finalists for its new Cybertruck Gigafactory garnered more than $40 million worth of free national and international publicity, significantly elevating our region's profile and awareness of the advantages of locating a business in Tulsa. Tulsa is now on the radar of more companies looking to expand or relocate than ever before, and I have no doubt that great things are ahead as a result. Back in 2016, our chamber coordinated the Vote Yes campaign for the Vision Tulsa sales tax package. And during 2020, we celebrated significant progress on not just one, but on two tremendous projects funded by Vision Tulsa. First, after years of renovations, the Cox Business Convention Center, a venue whose name I happen to be a bit proud of, held a grand reopening. And the $55 million project gives Tulsa the largest banquet space in the state and is sure to stimulate our economy with lots of future conferences and events of national scope. The other Vision project coming to fruition is the new Zinc Dam, a $48 million project that will improve safety and increase the depth of the Arkansas River. As Mayor Bynum said at the groundbreaking for the project, it will now transform how Tulsans use and enjoy our region's greatest natural asset in the river. Just 4 months ago, the State Board of Regents announced a win-win agreement with Langston University that paves the way for greatly enhancing educational opportunities in Tulsa. This will help address our shortage of degreed individuals who are needed to fuel tomorrow's workforce. Along with other local universities, OSU Tulsa is already expanding its local offerings. Following the pandemic, many businesses may decide there are positive benefits for both employees and employers to having some portion of their workforce continue to work remotely. And with Tulsa's low cost of living and high quality of life, initiatives such as Tulsa Remote are having incredible success in attracting remote workers to our great community, including many from high tax and high cost states such as California and New York. Just in the past 12 months, Tulsa Remote received more than 30,000 applications from individuals in all 50 states who are interested in relocating here to Tulsa. Funded by the George Kaiser Family Foundation, Tulsa Remote successfully attracted more than 450 new Tulsans in 2020, with 70 more scheduled to join us here in Tulsa by the end of this month. I mentioned earlier that the Chamber's original plan in 2020 was to drive connectivity of all kinds, but the fact that more than 20,000 local students did not have access to high-speed internet at home became a huge issue when remote online learning launched last March. Through Mayor Bynum's Internet Access Task Force and with the support of CARES Act funds, I am very pleased to report that Impact Tulsa, Tulsa Responds, and Cox Communications have partnered to offer low-income families with free internet for a full year so that every student in Tulsa can learn online from the warmth of their own home. All families have to do is apply at tulsaresponds.org. Tulsa is so unique in the country because as of right now, not one student in our city should lack high-speed internet at home. The new $173 million Veterans Hospital, for which funding was approved just 3 weeks ago, will transform Tulsa just to the west of the Cox Business Convention Center. This facility will increase access to care for our veterans, create much-needed residency training slots, and be a catalyst for economic development. The Greenwood Rising History Center will help us learn from the most troubling and tragic part of Tulsa's history. A project of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre Centennial Commission, the center will honor Tulsa's historic Greenwood District before and after the terrible events of a century ago. This is history that must be shared and must be discussed. And the innovative and interactive exhibits at the Greenwood Rising History Center will enable just that. Tulsa's award-winning Gathering Place Riverfront Park continues to garner well-deserved international acclamations, and the adjacent Children's Museum, which is known as Discovery Lab, is now under construction and slated to open later this year. It is expected to attract more than 250,000 visitors annually. Incredible as it sounds, great in Tulsa is about to get even greater on Riverside Drive. The innovative cyber technology initiatives underway at the University of Tulsa and at Tulsa Innovation Labs have the potential to stimulate growth of a burgeoning new tech industry here in Tulsa. The future is being coded today, right here in our fair city. And I could go on, but I'm going to stop there for now and suffice it to say it is a great time to be a Tulsan and an Oklahoman. From my vantage point as the Tulsa Regional Chamber's 2020 board chair, I got to witness firsthand how much the Chamber of Commerce contributes to our region. Under the leadership of Mike Neal, the staff at the Chamber are some of the hardest working and most professional and most knowledgeable people you will ever meet. And I thank each and every one of them. I would also be remiss if I didn't thank my colleagues at Cox Communications here in Tulsa. They never complained if I didn't reply to their emails until late at night when I was busy with Chamber business, because they see the value of what the Chamber is achieving and how the Chamber's efforts are positively impacting Tulsa and the businesses of our own customers. And thanks to all who served on the Chamber's Board of Directors and Board of Advisors, your support, your suggestions, wisdom, insight, and feedback were indispensable. Finally, thank you to my very patient wife, Terry, of almost 32 years for her unfailing support during a very busy year. I am so fortunate that Terry shares my passion for promoting this incredible community in which we are all so lucky to live. There are also some outstanding individuals who deserve special recognition at this time. All of the great projects and initiatives I have mentioned here today would not have been possible without them. They are the Chamber's 2020 Partners of the Year. First up, Economic Development Partner of the Year.
My initial involvement in the Chamber was really to try to drive Tulsa forward. I wanted to be a volunteer to help Tulsa reach its potential. Being a CEO, I felt it was very important that we had a very vibrant, leading edge type vibe. I think the greatest accomplishment the Chamber has achieved in these 15 years is the bringing together of all these regional partners. Tulsa's future, as I see it, and this is probably not the technical definition, but I see it as a group of inspired businesses and investors that are caring about where Tulsa is going. And they want to provide resources for professionals to go out and continue to sell Tulsa and its regional partners to business communities throughout the country and the world, to think about Tulsa as a place to set up their shop.
Congratulations and thank you to Carlin Connor for his outstanding leadership that has contributed to the economic prosperity of our great community. Next up, Tulsa Regional Tourism Partner of the Year.
Well, I've been chair of regional tourism for the last 2 years, and there have been a number of very positive developments. Things that come to mind are the renewed focus on development of downtown, the expansion of the brand and the venues around Route 66. You've got BMX headquarters and venues that are being built. You've got OK Pop Museum. All of those are really, really explosively developing the tourist experience in downtown Tulsa. I don't think people realize that tourism is the third largest economic driver for the state. And in Tulsa alone, in 2019, we had 10 million visitors with a $1.7 billion economic impact. And that's money that goes to restaurants, it goes to hotels, it goes to local businesses, and it also lowers the tax burden of people who live here. So Tulsa is punching above its weight class, and I think we're well on our way to being a serious global event destination.
Not only is Mike Mears a great leader at Magellan, he's a major employer here in our community, and he is a great promoter of Tulsa tourism, which is a significant part of our economy. Our next award is for Government Affairs Partner of the Year.
State Question 802 was passed in June of 2020. So what that means now is that about 200,000 Oklahomans who currently don't have health insurance will have access to health insurance through the Medicaid program. Tulsa Chamber has played an important role and has supported these efforts throughout the campaign to have Medicaid expanded. Well, I think the Tulsa Chamber has played a vital role in keeping people informed and connected throughout the pandemic. I mean, we all brought business leaders together to talk about first how to respond to the pandemic, and then how to deal with things like getting personal protective equipment, getting small business loans, getting payroll protection program. But I think at the center of that was the Tulsa Chamber's efforts in bringing everyone together.
Thanks to Kevin Gross for all he did for the Chamber in 2020, all the while leading Hillcrest Health System through an unprecedented period in public health history. Next up is our Community Development Partner of the Year.
Working with Blue Cross Community Affairs, we work with nonprofits across the community and see some of the issues up close. I've always had a passion for diversity, equity, and inclusion even before I knew what it was called. And I've been able to integrate that work with my community work, and it has been incredibly fulfilling to see the rise in acknowledgement of diversity, equity, and inclusion as critical issues, and really see some of the creative and innovative approaches in the community towards integrating those philosophies into companies and organizations. Tulsa is so accessible for so many people to plug into leadership roles and really be part of directing the future of Tulsa. So we need more and more of those diverse voices at the table, really just listening to what the challenges are and then what the proposed solutions are and how you can help.
Along with the Chamber's Coomer Roberts, Mercedes has helped us create a more diverse and more inclusive community as we all strive to ensure opportunity for all. Our next award is for Resource Development Partners, that's right, plural, of the Year.
So at JPMorgan Chase, we believe that business success depends on community success. I was looking for a way to get actively involved versus just attending meetings. I wanted to put my time and energy into something with quantifiable results and with real meaning. And I have to say, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've enjoyed reconnecting with so many people and meeting new people while working with the Chamber staff and my co-chairs, John and Carlin. Why I think it's critically important is it's a proactive approach to economic development, and it focuses both on attracting new businesses to Tulsa and also retaining our existing businesses. And what I really love about it as a side benefit is the way that it brings the Tulsa business community closer together because we're working cohesively for the betterment of our beloved city.
We are excited to honor both Ginger Coleman of JPMorgan Chase and John Lindsay of Helmerich & Payne with this award. Both Ginger and John have worked tirelessly to secure investment commitments from Chamber members to support Tulsa's future Road to Recovery, which is the funding initiative, plan, and strategies being executed for all of the Chamber's economic development activities in 2021. This one-year strategic plan will address today's urgent needs, but also paves the way for a new, longer-term Tulsa's Future economic development plan that will launch in 2022. Our next award is for Regional Partner of the Year.
We knew there was a package coming down from Washington, D.C. that had money in it for employers to pay their employees, and we didn't really realize that there was going to be a role for the counties. Then they had the formula put out. We found we were going to get $113 million in CARES fund. That was in late March. And we had to have it all spent by December 30th, or we had to send it back to the government.
And I feel like the county moved rapidly. Terry Simonson helped guide us through that. He was in touch immediately with the Treasury Department. What can we do? What can't we do? But I feel like the process that was put in place was as good as it could be in that short amount of time. And other counties and cities across the country emulated our process.
Oh, well, the Tulsa Chamber was a big partner initially. We allocated a lot of money to the PPE program when people couldn't get masks or they were having trouble finding sanitation. And all the nonprofits in the region, there were so many families that were impacted because of child care issues, and we partnered with organizations which help fund them daycare and other things.
You know, I think it was really a privilege and a lot of work, and I'm just grateful that the county had the opportunity to do that.
It was something we'd never done before, never thought in my wildest dreams would be doing it, but to actually be a central person and making that happen was fantastic.
Thank you to our dedicated and tireless county commissioners. Commissioners Peters, Keith, and Salee ensure that Tulsa County not only runs efficiently, but is well aligned and focused in fulfilling its mission. Next up, our Community Champion Partner of the Year.
We're responsible for creating conditions where people can be healthy. I've got a tremendous staff and tremendous agency working tirelessly 24/7, and hopefully that we can keep doing that until we get to the end of this. So we actually started tracking it in January once the news first started coming out from Wuhan, China, and we had our very first case. We were already stood up and ready to go in terms of a response, and knowing that testing and contact tracing and case investigation has got to be our #1 tool from that point on. We provide information that it's real data, it's very transparent, we're honest, and we're very direct. These are people who have compassion and empathy at their core, and I'll just be very honest, they're all my heroes. Every one of them. As much as we hated 2020, we actually learned some good things. We learned who our partners were. We learned who our neighbors were. With all of our community in Tulsa County, we're one Tulsa County, and that coming together is going to get us through this.
Thank you to Dr. Dart and everyone at the Tulsa Health Department for your unwavering efforts in the battle against COVID. Now, our final award in many ways is the highest honor the Chamber bestows. It is the Lifetime Achievement Award.
The most significant job that I ever had was being a superintendent of schools in Tulsa Public Schools. Being in Tulsa Public gave me a different perspective. I witnessed countless times children with horrific backgrounds didn't look like that they had much chance, but the public school made a difference.
He and I went to breakfast, and I figured it would just be a introduction type meeting, but he listened to everything I had to say about the Chamber's opinions about Tulsa Public Schools, what was working right, what was not working, what some of the big challenges were, and he took me very seriously. So we got off to a great start because I thought, this man really listens.
The moment you meet him, without question, you want to continue to be in his presence and learn from him. And he's the one person that whenever you are around him, he will always start by asking you about your family because he understands what it means to be present in that moment.
He opened the school doors to the community to offer kids and families more services and to try to provide social service opportunities when that was called for in schools. He so appreciated what other people could bring to the schools, and he wanted them to feel welcome and involved, and he listened to them.
Because of understanding the importance of relationships and his actions speaking louder than words, and the history of him doing what he said and being sincere about the promises he made and always being able to deliver on those things, it was clear that the community, the parents, were all in for the work that we were trying to do.
As I look back on my career, I am a teacher at heart. That is what I held closely and dear to, because it's always about the children. It's always about the students. I have lived by that mantra my entire career.
thank you, Dr. Ballard, for all you have done to improve education throughout the region. And thanks again to all of our honorees for making our region one of the best places in the country to live, learn, work, worship, play, and realize dreams. All of them have led us, sustained us, and inspired us throughout 2020. We owe each of them a huge debt of gratitude. Okay, it's time for me to now pass the gavel, and I cannot think of a better person to whom I could pass it than a great civic leader and an astute business professional with impressive financial acumen, and that would be my friend, Rose Washington. As the Chief Executive Officer of Tulsa Economic Development Corporation, Rose is responsible for developing, implementing, and overseeing strategies that support the organization's role as a catalyst leader in economic growth. TEDC enlightens people, enables small businesses, and helps them develop communities in partnership with a variety of stakeholders. The organization uses public and private resources to encourage business startup and expansion through its Creative Capital brand. And under Rose's leadership, TEDC has become a highly regarded partner in many economic development initiatives. With broad experience creating strategic alliances in diverse communities, Rose is known to be resourceful, creative, and solutions-oriented. Now, prior to arriving in Oklahoma, Rose enjoyed a successful career in community and government relations with the University of Southern California, as well as several years in banking and higher education in Mississippi. She chaired the board of directors for the Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank from 2017 to 19, an experience that showed her how national and international monetary policy affects every person, household, and business. Rose holds a BBA in finance from Mississippi State University and an MBA from Mississippi College. Rose's crowning achievement, though, is as mother to Mariah Renty, a two-time graduate of the University of Oklahoma, and Morris Renty III, a senior at Union High School and soon to be OU Sooner next fall. In her spare time, Rose enjoys reading, learning to play golf, and spending time with her son before he departs for college. So now it is my honor and humbling privilege to introduce to you the 2021 chair of the Tulsa Regional Chamber of Commerce, Rose Washington.
Thank you, Roger, for that kind introduction. I'm here at the offices of TEDC Creative Capital in downtown Tulsa, and I am eager to share some thoughts on what I hope we can accomplish in 2021. When you step into a leadership role, you are constantly asked about the challenges ahead. But I don't see what we are facing as challenges. I see them as opportunities. Will the work we need to do be challenging? Of course. Will we have to challenge ourselves to be more aware, better, and stronger than ever before? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that what we have before us is a challenge as much as a magnificent opportunity. More specifically, the opportunity for our region is this: that diversity, equity, and inclusion should be integral to everything we do and everything we are. From every individual to every company to our entire community. DE&I should not just be something we aspire to do well. Diverse, equitable, and inclusive should be who we are. As CEO for TEDC Creative Capital, I am a catalyst, convener, connector, strategy enhancer, and a servant leader in economic development that focuses on all things small business. Everything we do at TEDC, in lending, in development, in serving community, starts with our mission of helping progressive, promising businesses gain equal access. When I moved from Los Angeles to Tulsa, in 2001, I became active with 3 organizations: the Metropolitan Tulsa Urban League, the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce, and the Tulsa Regional Chamber. These organizations all aspired to connect and improve the people, businesses, and communities of our region. 2 decades later, I am honored to lead the Tulsa Regional Chamber as its 2021 chair. This is huge for me and for this region, not just because of this organization's enormous impact, but just as important to me because of the historic significance that this represents. If ever there was a moment for me to serve, I believe it is now. My career has been built around being a champion for the unlikely winner and pushing for the under-resourced to gain fair access. And I have no plans to change now. As Chamber Chair, I will lead implementation of the board-approved strategic plan that is already in place, but I will prioritize inclusive, equitable, and collaborative growth within our region. With an intense emphasis on diversity, I will focus on 3 key audiences: people, small businesses, and the wider community. I am here at the STEM Center at Charles Page High School in Sand Springs. For me, this center represents a wonderful example of a local stalwart company investing in our youth. Dana Weber's company, Webco Industries, is a committed donor to the STEM programming at Charles Page, which offers engineering, biomedical sciences, and computer science curriculum. This curriculum creates pathways for students to complete their secondary education in STEM, preparing them for post-secondary education opportunities or employment in areas of high demand. Students gain a competitive edge in job markets, and companies like Webco meet their workforce needs. It's a win-win. People, especially our region's young people, will be my first area of focus this year. We must develop more equitable opportunities in workforce and leadership development. Locally, the unemployment rate among African Americans is more than double that of white Tulsans. As I see it, we have an available workforce that just needs greater skills to meet industry requirements. Governor Stitt's Workforce Council recently designated the Chamber-led Tulsa's Future program as a manufacturing center of workforce excellence. This designation serves as official recognition of the hard work and dedication of our local community to leverage and align resources. As a result, we will build a comprehensive workforce development system that is responsive to local and state needs. As a business community, we must be more intentional about bringing all underserved, underrepresented, and underskilled individuals into the labor force. We will do this using the Chamber's strategic partnerships with business and industry, higher ed, career tech, K-12 education, and workforce agencies. Often, the answer to greater equity is simply greater access. As a kid in rural Mississippi, one summer I participated in a youth work program. Thanks to my high school teacher, I interned in a local city clerk's office instead of cutting tall grass in public spaces. I believe that opportunity at the Durant, Mississippi City Hall put me on the path that has led me here today. In that spirit, Mosaic, the Chamber-led coalition of individuals and companies committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion is joining forces with State Senator Kevin Matthews. Together, they will give a cohort of minority high school juniors and seniors C-level externships. These opportunities will be in banking and finance, information technology, and entrepreneurial development. TEDC has committed to sponsor an externship, and I challenge each corporate leader who shares my commitment to DE&I to do the same. Speaking of leaders, TIPROS, Tulsa's Young Professionals, which is housed at the Chamber, is perhaps the strongest organization of its kind in the nation. During 2021, we will encourage more young professionals of color to join the TIPROS ranks. I also want to see more TIPROS members in leadership and governance roles across our region. To that end, an innovative new opportunity exists for young folks who may have political aspirations. TIPROS is currently accepting applications for the first cohort of a nonpartisan program called 918 LEAD. The goal of 918 LEAD is to help young people prepare to run for elected office. I love this idea, and I encourage politically inclined young professionals watching today's event to give this a look. Visit typros.org/918LEAD for details. By providing more initiatives targeting our youth, our emerging workforce, and our young professionals, we will create opportunities for diverse, equitable, and inclusive to be who we are. I'm standing inside Fulton Street Books and Coffee, a great example of a small business that actually started in the midst of the pandemic. For me, Fulton Street represents a brilliant young Black woman's unconquerable dream brought to life in the face of a worldwide crisis. Onika Asamoah Caesar, a former Teach for America Corps member, has captured national attention with her Little and Lit curated selection of diverse children books and her ally boxes delivered monthly to households across the country. Fulton Street created a business strategy that attracts customers and revenue from across the nation, even as the company also serves the local community. Businesses, especially our region's small businesses, will be my second area of focus this year. We must meet their need for strategic resources, guidance, and assistance, and we must raise up a new, more diverse, equitable, and inclusive group of entrepreneurs, businesses, and services. Prior to the pandemic, Tulsa County alone was home to more than 22,000 employer companies. The overwhelming majority of these were small businesses with 50 or fewer employees. Sadly, many were hit especially hard by the effects of the pandemic and had to close their doors. Incredibly, however, there were also remarkable instances, such as Fulton Street, of new businesses opening despite the pandemic. The Chamber already has a dedicated resource, the Small Business Connection, to support our region's smaller employers. I want to see the connection grow, and I want to promote inclusive growth through more diverse business participation. Although membership comes with certain privileges, the connection will provide its suite of small business resources and virtual events largely free of charge through the first 2 quarters of this year. I hope minority businesses will participate, experience the benefits of Chamber engagement, and join us as members. I also encourage our base of larger companies to either create or expand diversity supplier initiatives. Ensuring that inclusive procurement opportunities are in place and effectively promoted will help accelerate growth for diverse companies that can meet a supply or service need. With this type of initiative, we will move forward as a region by giving existing small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs a greater chance to thrive. We will also reduce inequity and ensure that the benefits of prosperity are shared more broadly. By providing more access, assistance, and guidance for our small businesses, we will create opportunities for diverse, equitable, and inclusive to be who we are. I'm standing at the site of Oasis Fresh Market, which will open this spring in North Tulsa, near Pine and Peoria. For me, Oasis represents rebirth, restoration, and hope. It will be a tribute to the 5 and dime store owners of historic Black Wall Street who never had the chance to scale into large grocery store chains because their businesses were destroyed. As its name implies, this store will be a food oasis in the middle of a food desert. It will be a place of pride and dignity where the North Tulsa community can buy fresh, affordable, and quality groceries without driving a car or riding a bus 5 or 10 miles from home. Oasis has been a labor of love for TEDC and for me personally, in partnership with the City of Tulsa and City Councilor Vanessa Hall Harper. Community and the skills required to bring our region together will be my third and final area of focus this year. We must develop the village-making skills necessary to recognize and overcome the divisions of our past and grow together in a way that is diverse, equitable, and inclusive. 100 years ago this May, our city was the scene of one of the saddest events in our nation's history, the Tulsa Race Massacre. My children, Mariah and Mo Renty, spent countless hours talking to their great-grandmother, Thelma Thurman Knight, a race massacre survivor. She shared with them all she could remember about that living nightmare. But until recently, those events had not been widely discussed publicly. This is now changing, and in a few months, the eyes of the world will be upon Tulsa as we commemorate the Centennial of the Race Massacre. That commemoration will give us a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to not only share our history with those who may not know it, but also to show that as a community, we are now fearlessly trying to move beyond the prejudices that enable such a tragedy to occur in the first place. Thousands will be drawn to Tulsa for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre Centennial. They will have the chance to learn hands-on about the horrific event that destroyed what I believe was once the most prosperous Black economy in the country. They will experience the destructive impact of the race massacre and how hatred is a root of evil. And they will walk away, I hope, with a personal commitment to help heal our land. Beyond historical education, we must also focus on building inclusive social capital. Social capital is defined as the networks of relationships among people who live and work in a particular society, enabling that society to function effectively. Diversity dinners, for example, are a great way to build those much-needed relationships. While COVID-19 has created a barrier, at least for a while, to hosting in-person diversity dinners, I encourage all of us to spend time getting to know those with backgrounds different than our own. I encourage you to lift as you rise by choosing to mentor or sponsor a person with a diverse background and guide them in their professional journey. Again, lift as you rise. And don't forget that community can be formed in lots of ways. Earlier in this event, Roger shared his enthusiasm for Tulsa Remote. Imagine the economic impact on our local small and minority businesses if that program drew twice as many remoters, all with a passion to build equitable prosperity, engage in community, buy homes and raise families in our region. 20 years ago, I myself was a remote worker for a brief period of time after moving here. In 2021, the Chamber will work with the state legislature to acknowledge the benefits of quality jobs drawn to our region through Tulsa Remote and seek the state's full participation as a partner in importing talent and incomes to our region. At the end of the day, I believe we will find that while God made each of us unique in order to make life much more interesting, we are more alike than we realize. Developing mutual respect, discussing unconscious biases, and intentionally eliminating stereotypes requires that we invest the time to personally get acquainted. By doing so, I am convinced we can make our community stronger and more attractive for ourselves and for new neighbors. By providing more chances to connect and build village-making skills in our community, we will create opportunities for diverse, equitable, and inclusive to be who we are. In closing, I look forward to this year and to serving as your 2021 Chamber Chair. I promise you my energy, enthusiasm, and dedication as together we create a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive region. Remember, the times might be challenging and the work ahead might challenge us, but now is our greatest opportunity to make diversity, equity, and inclusion integral to our region. From every person to every small business to our entire regional community. Let's not make DE&I just something we aspire to do more of. Let's make diverse, equitable, and inclusive who we are. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty.
Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound high as the rolling sea.
Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us.
Facing the
rising sun
of our new
day begun. Let us march on till victory